Whether you're an enthusiastic amateur or a world champion in the making, there's always room for improvement, and this week we're going to discuss hitting the cue ball in a straight line with no side spin. It's the pursuit of perfection for a snooker player. It sounds easy, but it's very tough. We'll start right at the beginning. One of the oldest practice methods in the game, hitting the cue ball up and down the spots. Sounds very easy, very, very difficult. I've got a piece of chalk on the top cushion that's directly in the line of the spots. I've got the white ball on the brown spot. As long as the guy that put the table up has put the spots in a straight line, you're okay. You can use these to test your cueing. So, it's been a while since Stephen Lee beat me. I haven't picked my cue up too much. Let's see how I do. Up it goes, and back down. More or less exactly down the spots, apart from a little bit of a roll on the table. That wasn't bad, but it was very soft. And the reason why I did that was because it's very easy to hit the ball up and down the spots if you hit it softly. It's when you put a bit of effort into the shot, it really becomes difficult. So, now I'm going to hit the ball slightly harder. I'm going to try as hard as I can. Central striking, trying to hit the white ball in the middle, up and down the spots in a straight line, hit the chalk, up and down the spots, and back. Now, I'm very happy with that. That's fantastic. Obviously, I'm a top professional. That's the way it goes. Let's hit it even harder. Let's see if we can start to generate a bit of inaccuracy in my cue action. Whack it as hard as I can, up and down the spots, and there you go. Look, off miles. I put a bit of right-hand side on. Okay, bit of right-hand side. I'll try and correct that. And there it goes off to the left. They're roughly the same shot for me. It is much, much harder than you think to hit the cue ball centrally to get it coming back when you use a bit of force. So therein lies the problem. But let's say you've sort of like practiced for a week on end, doing half an hour before every practice session, up and down the spots, and you're fairly happy that you can more or less put it up and down in a straight line. Well, let's introduce a ball that you need to pot. That should be quite easy after doing that. Just hit the white ball in the middle, should go in. Absolutely miles out. Dead straight pot. Why can't you pot that every time? And that's what every player is trying to look for. This week, hopefully, I'm going to try and help you with that pursuit. Yesterday we talked about the practice routine of hitting the cue ball up and down the spots to make sure you're not putting any side spin on the white ball. So what happens if you can't do that? If all of a sudden, as the white ball hits the top cushion, it comes back either right side or left hand side, proves you're not hitting the ball in the centre. What's the reason? Well, possibly you're not starting off in the centre. You're not aiming at the centre of the white ball in the first place. And that's not as easy as it looks, because sometimes on the snooker table with the lighting, there's lots of shadows on the ball. But let's show you a foolproof way of finding the centre of the white ball. I've got a plumb bob, a pencil. I'm going to hang the plumb bob from the lights that's directly down the bulk end of the table, drop the plumb bob down and find the point on the table that's directly below the light bulb. We mark it with a pencil. So all of a sudden we have a cross on the table. We now put the cue ball on the cross. White ball directly below the light bulb. Wherever you are around the table, that reflection of that light bulb is the dead centre of the cue ball. So you can use this to your advantage. Scatter balls around the table, line up at any shot you like, and all of a sudden, as you get down, that reflection of that light bulb is directly in the middle. That is the middle. Whether you're up the top there or down the bottom, you keep on that line, that is the middle. So you can test yourself. Can you pot the ball? Okay, so wherever you are around the table, choose another ball. Put the white ball on the spot, line it up, put the tips of the ball, and that reflection of that light bulb is bang in the middle. All of a sudden you can attempt another pot. One more go. Here we go. One more shot. This is easy. Middle of the white ball is where the reflection is. Well, I missed that one. I was aiming at the spot, but did I actually hit where I was aiming? Well, that's what we're going to look at tomorrow. Yesterday I showed you a low-tech way to find the centre of the cue ball using a plumb bob and the light bulb from the shade. Today we're going high-tech, which is why we dim the lights slightly. Okay, so you can find the centre of the white ball, but is the cue on the line of the shot? two different things entirely. I've got a laser line here. If we switch it on, perfect. The line through the centre of the balls, and the cue, you can see the green line all the way along the cue. Now, if we switch off the line and get a player, if you're coaching them, line up the shot, address the ball, get into position in what they feel is the right place, and then switch on the line, and there you go, not on the line. They may be aiming at the middle of the white ball, but they're not on the line of the pot, so the cue has to be there. And worse, you can spot if somebody's coming back off the line when they're doing their backwards and forwards movements, the preparatory cueing movements. So you can train a player to bring the cue back on the line. Also, when they come to play the shot and go through the white ball, we can also check whether the cue is staying on that line as well. So this is very important. So let's see if I can play the shot and keep that cue on the line. So that's a pretty foolproof way to find out if your cue's not only hitting the white ball, but also coming backwards and forwards on that correct line. But what if a player, every time they get down on that shot, doesn't find that line? Well, perhaps they're sighting wrong, and that's what we're going to look at tomorrow. This week we've been looking at the problems a snooker player faces. It's all about that straight line, a straight pot, hitting the cue ball in the middle, having the cue on the straight line to start with and delivering it in a straight line. But what happens if your eyes are not actually on that line? Well, here's where this board comes into play. Essentially, we have a board with a step in it down. It's got a straight line. Obviously, when you stand behind, if you stand directly in line with your eyes, the line is one complete straight line. If you stand off to one side, the line is disjointed. So with your pupil, you get the pupil to get down into position. When he's happy, you remove the paper, and the pupil can see whether he looks at the line and it looks straight. If he's off to one side, the line looks disjointed. The other side, the line looks disjointed the other way. So the pupil can self-correct, and the coach can actually make a point of exactly where that player should be to make that line look correct. So we get onto the theory of the dominant eye. Have certain players got a strong eye that they use to cue with? Look at the top class players. Neil Robertson, left-handed over his right eye. Ronnie O'Sullivan, right-handed over his left eye. John Higgins, bang in the middle. But the question is Ronnie O'Sullivan a better player if he used that board to centrally line himself up, or does he see that line correctly straight? I haven't got a clue. So far this week we've looked at alignment in the game of snooker. Before the shot, getting yourself in the correct position to play the shot. Tomorrow we're going to look at something that helps you to deliver the cue in a straight line. So far this week we've talked about the importance of alignment in a shot, getting yourself in the correct position in a straight line to play the shot. But at some stage you've got to actually deliver the cue, and that's where the problems start. But never fear, there's help at hand. Have a look at that. A bendy cue. It's got a spring in the middle. All of a sudden it's pretty solid, but put any undue force on the cue in any direction and the cue breaks. It's a training cue. So, put a straight shot here. I'm going to play a couple of shots. A nice soft one to start with. Any undue pressure with the grip or with the bridge or the chin or any part will cause the cue to break. But a nice soft shot, probably I can get the cue to act as a normal cue. Yeah, that was quite easy. Let's play a powerful screwback and see what happens. It's a nightmare. We'll play a screwback. I just missed it. I don't know it was that bad. One more go. That was amazing. I did give it a big one. Wow, didn't even screw back. So what's actually happening here is any undue force is causing a problem for the player. If he pulls the cue back and puts any force on with his grip, the cue bends. If he's a player that plays with his cue on the chest, and as he goes through, he's using his chest as a guide, but his cue's actually not going through straight, but his chest is helping. Even so, that could bend. Either way, you're not too sure. If you put your chin on the cue too much and force down, some players, as you pull the cue back, there it goes bending. And as it goes through, perhaps the force is not through the shot. So if you can actually play the shot successfully without bending this cue as you play the shot, then you effectively let the cue do the work. The cue will train you. It's quite amazing, quite effective as well. I hope that's given you an insight into the game of snooker and the problems that snooker players face. And if you're prepared to work hard and practice on some of the things I've talked about, perhaps one day I'll see you at the Crucible.